The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
Hey, what's good, everybody? This is your host, Karim Grant of the Players Corner. Welcome to Season 2. And do we have a special guest for you today? He is none other than Jordan Hamilton. He is what I like to call the LeBron James and Kevin Garnett of Canadian professional soccer. Why? Because he went from high school right to the league. He's here in studio. He's going to talk to us a bit about his journey. Jordan, what's happening, brother? How you doing today?
Good.
Good to have you in studio, man. It's good to see you. You're looking great, looking healthy. Happy New Year. So Jordan, tell me about how you got started into this whole thing that we call, well, you guys call football, we call it soccer.
Yeah, my parents put me in the sport from, I think, I was 2 years old and 9 months. So
wow.
As soon as I could basically start running or walking, I don't even know at that age, but they put me in, and I was always playing with an older age group, not at the highest level, but always with older kids. And then I had an older brother, obviously, who was very good at soccer, a youth national team player.
Wow.
6 years older than me, so he played a big part in my development. But for the most part, just always playing older at a lower level. And then as you get, when it gets too much, like I'm 10 and the kids are 14, go down maybe one age group. And, I just cycled down till I kind of found my level,
right,
which was in soccer, the 95 age group. And I would say I was definitely probably one of the top players in that age group. So growing up, and just from there, continued.
So what others, did you play any other sports?
Yeah.
Was it just soccer?
Yeah, I was big in basketball and track and field and cross country as well.
Wow. So what were your events for track and field?
The 100 meter, the 200 meter, and relay, obviously.
Yeah.
I dabbled in long jump a bit, but I was my strength was 100, 200. I'd say if I were to continue with going down the track path, I would definitely say the 400 would have been my race.
Right.
Just because I have the, obviously, stamina from cross country and soccer.
Yeah. Now, do you think that stamina helped you on the football pitch?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think stamina is the most important thing in soccer. Your endurance, right? It's when the 70th minute comes around, are you still darting in behind the back line, or, the center back's gasping for air, doesn't have a break. So I think the endurance is the main part of soccer, for sure.
Now, you play striker, right? Now, were you always a striker growing up?
Always, yeah. Always scoring the goals.
So you've never defended at all?
I've had a funny story. One time obviously I was probably 9 playing with 12-year-olds. And I think the goalie got injured, and as every kid wants to try out playing in net, and I asked my coach, put me in net. And I went in net, and I never seen my dad more upset.
I can see his face.
He's never been more upset. Yeah. So that was the first and last time ever outside of playing forward.
So my bad. I called you the LeBron James and the Kobe Bryant of basketball. I should call you the Carmelo Anthony of soccer, because he didn't play any defense.
Yeah.
Even though Carmelo's my guy, that's my guy though, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to Carmelo.
For sure.
But so growing up, you grew up in Scarborough, Scarborough, Ontario. Shout out to the borough.
Yeah.
All right. You went to high school at Pope John Paul. Okay, so that's right in the heart of Scarborough. And to me, I grew up in Scarborough too, and I grew up a lot in Durham as well. But soccer wasn't a huge, big sport. It was mostly basketball.
Basketball, yeah.
How did you make that transition? What made you say, you know what, I'm going to put down this basketball and pick up my cleats and get on the pitch and start playing a bit more for real?
To be honest, it was very balanced, I'd say, between both sports until I was probably, till the Team Ontario program started for soccer, which was, I made it a year early, so I would have been 13 or 12 playing with the 14-year-olds.
Right.
And then the decision had to be made once I made the U17 team for World Cup qualifying 2 years early. So I was 14 playing with the U17 team. And then that's when, you know, the government steps in and, you know, you're a prospect in soccer and all that stuff. So that's when I really had to, you know, say, okay, I'm going to go with soccer. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. I remember you playing basketball when you were just a kid. You were really good. You're probably about the same size you were.
Yeah, I know.
So you were a lot taller than a lot of the kids, and you were just a dominant figure. And I remember, you know, it's just a little side note, I coached Jordan for a couple of years playing basketball, and I always remember this story that I would never feed my kids pizza before a game because I remember. And you probably don't remember this.
I do remember, yeah.
You know, we had pizza the night before a game, and I'm like, you know what? We won the game previously, so I was like, you know what? Let's treat these guys to some pizza. And then we showed up at the game, and you were just hurling, you know, throwing up everywhere, and I was like, no, not my star player. Do you still eat pizza before games?
I have not touched Pizza Hut since that day.
Okay, good. That literally broke my heart.
That stuck with me for life. That was a rough day. I remember very vividly. We were in Barrie.
Yeah.
I think it was at the Barrie Community Center or some fancy high school or something.
Yeah. It was crazy. It was nuts, and I just remember to myself like thinking I will never, as a coach, give that type of food to my players.
We would have been like 10 years old, I think.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, you were really young. Yeah. But just watching your trajectory, watching your progress throughout the years has really been impressive. You know, who were some of your major influences growing up?
You, for sure. I always tell this story, the good versus great thing, when I used to cry a bit or get frustrated. That stuck with me for life, for sure. You know, you're a very important figure in my life. Obviously my parents and my brother. That's pretty much it. You know, I loved LeBron as a basketball player. I had my favorite soccer players, obviously Thierry Henry, Ibrahimovic, Balotelli, guys that kind of fit my play style.
Were there guys from, let's say, Toronto or let's say Canada that you really watched? Because we had Dwayne D. Rosario.
I was just going to say, D-Ro was the first person who I felt like I could do that, you know. I used to train with, so basically in soccer, before, in my generation, it started off, you go districts, which is like you train in your district, so Scarborough district, Durham district, different districts. So his dad was the coach, rest in peace to his soul. He was the coach, and D-Ro was professional and had just won the MLS Cup and came back and did like a, you know, autograph signing for like our district team, and there was girls and boys, obviously. And he gave out this calendar that had like his team calendar, his team photo, and like a page of him like doing a bicycle kick. And I remember being a little kid and like I memorized these players' names, and like every night in my little bunk bed looked at like D-Ro's, like I could tell you what shoes he was wearing in that picture, you know?
Wow.
So it was like, yeah, he was a huge motivator where I was like, wow, this guy, I could do this. And
at that point, were you thinking, man, I'm going to play a couple years in high school and go right to the league?
No, honestly.
So how did that matriculate?
Honestly, my whole plan with soccer was to go Division I. You know, I was in all academic university classes to be able to do that. Then a European coach came over to TFC, Aaron Vinter and Bob de Klerk. And in Europe, the culture is, you know, you have your academy and you bring in players from the academy to the first team. And before they came to TFC, like honestly, a young player when I was growing up was like probably like 23, 24, you know, like out of college. Now it's like, obviously you see now it's more European, like 17-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 18-year-olds. So yeah, they really started it. They called me into the TFC preseason when I was 15. Wow. So I was in grade 10 and I went to my first professional preseason. Yeah. And
what was that experience like?
It was crazy. I had a lot to learn. Obviously, you know, at that point in time, I don't even think I was waking up on my own to go to school.
Wow.
So that was a great experience. And then obviously, eventually, 2 years later, I signed professionally.
Yeah. Now, I always ask all my professional players and even some of my collegiate players, what was your moment of reckoning when you realized that, wow, I'm a pro football player, I'm a pro athlete right now? What was that moment where you realized this is it?
Honestly, a few weeks before I had signed to, it's a funny story, a few weeks before I had signed to TFC, there was this girl I really had a crush on. Mm-hmm. And she just wasn't giving me time of day, and then I signed to no, I won't say her name. But then I signed to TFC, and obviously, you know, I'm in high school, so it was everywhere. And then she like tried to message me back, and you know, and I'm just like, damn, like this is what it's like. But besides that, honestly, the thing that makes me feel the most special is when a little kid comes up to me and you know, it's like they're seeing like somebody that, because my main goal was always to inspire kids and like, especially kids from Scarborough. Like I would go to elementary schools, go back to my elementary schools. Like I wouldn't even like want to do any cameras or money or anything like that. I just wanted to go and, you know, show kids in like Malvern or in Scarborough where I grew up, that they can do something, you know, and because there's so much talent and it's not an easy place to realize that talent.
Right. We talk about being from Malvern. I spent many years in Malvern as well. And when I made it to the pros, I can remember the first thing I bought. What was the first thing you bought when you got your first check?
The first thing I bought, I went straight to, I remember my mom had like an old, I want to say like iPhone 3. But this is at the time when it was, we're probably on like iPhone 6 or 7.
Okay, so she was a few
and she was on
behind.
like, you know, the long charger, like that was catching on fire. So like, I just went straight to the store and bought her a phone. And then my first major purchase was a condo for sure. I bought a condo back in 2015.
Right.
That was a really good, obviously thanks to my brother, you know, he's a chartered accountant, so he's very good with, you know, stuff like that.
With money, because that's not what I would have bought. Yeah. I mean, very good on him, and shout out to Jared, you know, for steering him in the right direction. We got to go to commercial, but I want to talk to you a bit about your journey after the TFC and all that happened, because you've been a lot of places, seen a lot of different things. I want to talk about maybe some of the culture shocks that you might have endured and things like that. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We're sitting in studio here, one-on-one with Jordan Hamilton, and we're going to talk a bit more and get really in depth with a lot of the things that he's been through in his life. See you soon.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
This summer,
get ready to fall in love.
We've seen hookups, breakups, and everything in between.
The hottest shows.
I'm here to find my husband.
I could have my happily ever after.
Are on City TV.
Name something.
Marijuana.
Weed.
You are each related to a celebrity. You must uncover everyone else's identity.
Yes, I will do your prank.
Yeah, it's happening.
I didn't expect to have so much fun.
It's all new all summer long on City TV.
That was hot.
You're watching Rogers TV.
What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Players Corner with Karim Grant. In studio today, we have Jordan Hamilton. Jordan's been talking to us a bit about his journey in this wonderful game of soccer, or as he likes to call it, football, which the rest of the world calls us football as well. But we're just talking about his journey and where he's come from and where he's going and where he's at today. So, Jordan, you started the North Scarborough Soccer Club. Where'd you go after that?
After that, I went to Malvern. Probably for 3 years. So from 8 to 11.
Right.
And then I went over to Ajax.
Shout out to Ajax.
Yeah,
Ajax FC.
Ajax,
How was that
Eagles.
time there?
Oh, it was great. You know, it was my first time like being with guys my own age kind of thing, or like a year older but still in the same thing. So the bonds were a lot tighter.
Yeah. And then from Ajax you went to?
From Ajax I went to TFC Academy.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So the TFC Academy, let's talk about that experience leading into the TFC professional ranks. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's at the time I joined TFC Academy, like it was basically either you go to TFC or a team called Sigma, and you know I just figured Sigma's a great club as well. I just figured at the time, you know, I want to be around the best players. All of my provincial Team Ontario teammates were going to TFC Academy, so I kind of just followed them. My brother was playing at Sigma, so it was but he had also done TFC Academy.
Okay.
So yeah, I just took the chance and went to TFC Academy, and I excelled there. It was a great environment.
How does the process work? You go to an academy and all of a sudden you end up on their professional team.
Just the how it started went back to the Aaron Vinter story. They just watched a few scrimmages and a few practices, and I guess, you know, I wasn't the only one they picked out, but I definitely would say that I mean, there's a few guys, like, I could name them, but there was like probably 4 or 5 guys that they had their eyes on. Yeah. And them being from the European culture, it's like bring up the young players, and, you know, so that was a blessing.
Yeah, so you played your first professional game with TFC. How was that experience?
It was crazy. I remember I got subbed on my very first game. I got subbed on for not long, maybe like 5-10 minutes. Yeah. Just to give me an appearance before I had gone on loan. But yeah, it was just a real experience. I had my whole family there. You know, I'd been going to TFC games for a long time. It almost felt like I wasn't like in like.
There's like an out-of-body experience.
Yeah, it's just an undescribable experience for sure.
And then the business takes over. Yeah. So the business of the sports take over, and they put you on loan, which is crazy to me. Cause you know, you're loaning players to another team, which is insane. But how did that process work out for you?
Yeah, so I went to Wilmington, Wilmington, North Carolina. The club doesn't exist anymore, I don't think, professionally, but. I had a great time. It was a great town. Obviously, North Carolina is like a beach town, so it was really hot, and it was just a great experience. You know, I kind of got my little college experience because I didn't get to go to college. Yeah. My American college experience because it was a UNCW campus area, so it was a great time.
But you weren't of age to drink or go out and party.
No. I was just, you know, in the housing complex, like where the pool is and the little
you're just doing Bible study
beach volleyball, something like that.
So, talk to me about this Tottenham Spurs game. I'd love to hear that story.
Yeah, so I was in Wilmington playing, doing well. I think I had 5 or 6 goals as a 17-year-old. In probably 11 games or so, so I was doing very well. I came back for my high school graduation, and just so happened that TFC was playing against Tottenham. So my agent just, you know, reached out to them and said, why don't you just let Jordan play? He's been doing well and stuff. And obviously, you know, they want to reward you for your hard work. It's no small feat for a 17-year-old to have a bunch of goals in a professional league, right?
Absolutely.
So they gave me a full half of play time, and obviously it's preseason for Tottenham, right? So they're mixing the team, they're playing young players, they're, you know, seeing different things. So I had actually been on trial at Tottenham for probably like 3 weeks and did very, very well. Like they were trying to sign me, but obviously the English permit problem. So, you know, as an athlete, when you're just on the field and you feel very confident playing against players you know that you've done well against before. And I just had a great game, and I ended up scoring my first professional goal, which was, I'll never forget that. I have a big cutout in my basement.
Do you remember the celebration you did?
Yeah. I went like this and then to the crowd. I have a picture of like this in the crowd, like a big cutout. It'll be with me forever. So
that was an incredible
proud moment.
I distinctly remember that moment. I remember jumping up and down and screaming, I know that guy. I know him. He's not Drake. I know you must get that a lot too.
A lot, yeah.
Are you Drake? No, I'm joking. But listen, I want to talk to you a bit about Team Canada. Now, how is your relationship with Team Canada?
It's great. I mean, I was up until I want to say 2018, I was in the player pool. And the guys on my team, you know, I grew up with, those guys I consider like family, you know? So watching them, whether I was there or not, was just like a surreal moment for me, and I'm sure for a lot of people in Canada.
Well, selfishly, I wanted to see you play a bit more for Team Canada.
Of course.
I didn't understand the ramifications or the ins and outs of the politics behind it. I just knew my boy had to be on the field, and you weren't all the time, and I was a little bit upset sometimes. How do you feel that Team Canada did in the World Cup last year?
They did, honestly, they put a lot of eyes on Canada. They all, you know, played their hearts out. Unfortunately, I think they kind of let themselves down against Belgium by not scoring goals, because that game they were incredible. And in a World Cup, you only have 3 games, right? So you have to take as much points as you can.
Right.
But I mean, if you look at the group, two teams played in the bronze medal game from our group, so it was a very, very difficult group. And Croatia was in the final. The last World Cup, Morocco was basically the Cinderella story of the tournament, and Belgium was ranked 2nd in the world. So you can't knock your hats on them. I think they did very well for themselves, and I think if they were maybe in a different group, or maybe if they got 1 goal to go in against Belgium, I think they have a different tournament. But
so are there any future possibilities that you may join the squad at some point?
Yeah, you know, that's always the goal as a player. You want to play for your country. But, you know, that's up to me and my performances. And, you know, obviously I'm planning to have a big year for my team, Forge.
So you're currently with the Hamilton Forge. How is playing in the Canadian Soccer League?
It's great. I actually left Europe to come back because, you know, I kind of realized, do I want to be in Europe at a certain level and maybe move up 1 step, or do I want to come back home and take a step backwards? Not backwards, but come home and use it as a platform to go to an even better situation than I was in. So, you know, there's a lot of eyes on Canada now in the soccer world. And the league is growing. I think every year you see probably like 4 or 5 players get good moves. So
what's it like playing in Hamilton?
It's good. I mean, it's home. It's close to home. I grew up playing in Toronto my whole life, and obviously for 6-7 years played for TFC, which was a dream come true. So, you know, it's good to be home.
When do you guys start your preseason?
February 6th.
Oh, it's pretty soon.
Yeah.
Any big plans for this year? Any predictions for this year?
I mean, we won last year, so I mean, there's not much else to do except win again, right?
Yeah.
The better the team does is obviously the better I'll do. So I'm just looking for the team to win again, and you know, obviously I have my personal goals, but yeah.
So in the last 10 years, you've probably been all over this great world of ours.
Yeah.
You know, how has that transition been culturally, and to adapt to different places that you go to, and play a sport that you love, but just to adapt culturally there?
Yeah, you know, I think going to Portugal at 18 was a huge benefit to me, as to acclimatize to different cultures, because that's a huge culture shock. And I remember I was struggling a little bit there.
How did you struggle?
Just the language. I was in a farm town a little bit, like outside of the main cities. Couldn't really go anywhere on transit. You know,
McDonald's out there, Burger King?
No, honestly, Portugal had the best chicken. Like, if you go get Portuguese chicken in anywhere in Canada, it doesn't compare at all. Wow. So it was like, I remember it was like €5 for a whole chicken. So I would eat half the chicken at lunch and then the rest at dinner, and that was just my go-to.
€5 would be like
a full
$10
chicken
out here, I guess, or
maybe like $8.
$8.
Yeah,
okay.
but
nice.
for a full chicken, yeah.
Wow.
And it was the best chicken taste, the best tasting chicken I've ever had, honestly.
So Portugal was a bit of a culture shock, being in a farm town and all that, and then now going to Hamilton, which is more of like a steel town, but a bit closer to home, right? But do you feel like it's a bit more comfortable now because you can get family out to your games?
Yeah,
now?
of course. You know, that was always a big. If you've ever watched me play, if I'm attacking the side that my family's sitting, you can bet I'm gonna score and run towards them. You know, so. That was a big thing having my family there.
Okay, so we talk about the last 10 years. Now, if you could tell your younger self one thing right now, what would you tell your younger self?
I would definitely say like how old? Like young?
Like I would say 10 years old.
10 years old?
Yeah.
Honestly, I wouldn't change a thing about.
Okay, let's say 16, right before you made it to
16, I would say just go to Europe and try it, because you could, at that age, you could have always came back. But obviously now MLS is a little bit different. Young players are getting, you know, a lot of looks because it's how business works, right? Once Alphonso Davies happens and he goes 20 million to Bayern Munich and he's one of the best players in the world, or basically the best player in the world at his position, then now every MLS team is going to start looking for, you know, a 17-year-old or 15-year-old, whoever's, because they want the same thing, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like in my time, it was more like, you know, you go to college, do your 1 to 4 years, come into the league at 19, 20, 23 sometimes. So it's a big change now, and it's great for the kids, and it's only going to get better for them to, you know, to come. But that was just what I would give myself.
Nice. That's excellent. We're just wrapping up right now. I always envision when soccer players or football players, when they're listening to music to warm up, to get ready, it's always like some techno music or something.
Oh, no.
What do you listen to get yourself hyped up for a game?
Like,
real quick, you got about 30 seconds.
I'd say like Future, Gunna.
Okay.
Drake for sure. Baka.
Yeah.
Like, Scarborough stuff, you know?
That's incredible, man. Hey, listen, Mr. Hamilton, it's been a pleasure, not just to know you as an individual, but just to have you here and to see your journey and see your progress throughout the years. I feel like I've been with you step by step, but not really with you, but just watching you from the sideline. And I gotta say, I'm really proud of you, and I want to see you continue doing what you're doing, be a beacon of light and of hope to everybody out here in Scarborough and in Durham region. Thanks for coming, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Take care, man. This has been the Players Corner with Karim Grant. Stay tuned for the next guest. I won't tell you who it is, but you're going to be really pleased when he gets here. All the best and take care.
Call the Rogers TV Viewer Response Line. Email us or connect with us on social media.
At St. John Ambulance, we're all about community. We teach life-saving skills and provide community support through our volunteer services.